Welcome to the Sencerely Yourz Podcast with Mr. Sincere and friends.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sencerely Yourz Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to hear from the women's side of you on who can we run to. So, ladies, let's be real and let's talk serious. In the opposite way that our gentlemen talked about the relationships with the Black community and Black women as a whole. So let's get this conversation started. So today's segment starts off with the heavy burden Black women carry. We have to acknowledge that Black women are most than we can ever imagine. They've been carrying it for generations. Being the backbone of the community, but rarely protected or prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
What's your insight on that?
I'll take that one. The heavy burden of being a Black woman in the new millennium is not unlike it was back in slavery. We carry the weight of the families, and they're broken. So everything that we carry is exacerbated by the weight and the issues of those that we carry.
Does that imply that it's the Black woman's fault?
Well, I don't think it's our fault. I think it's a lot of contributing factors. But I think because historically we've been put in the lead role, i.e. mammy, i.e. big mama, i.e. we've been put in the position to keep everything strong and solid because of the absence of the men, not by their own doing in a lot of cases, but because we have to carry the heavy. A lot of us have become men, and we carry the burden of the world as though we're men with mammary glands, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's a very heavy, heavy, heavy weight. And with little support and always being looked at as we're too strong, too loud, too Black, too this, too that, when I'm not going to speak for the collective in this part, I'm going to speak for myself. When you're alone, let's say I'm a single mother, I have to carry the weight of this child and our family alone. There's no one looking at me as, oh, she needs help. No, she created this herself. We're automatically presumed to be guilty. And because we're carrying the weight of so many and so much, it's assumed that we can. And because we are assuming that we can, we assume the role. And I know in my case, in hindsight, I definitely became a man because there was no man to protect or cover me. So there's no one for me to run to. My father was absent at the time. My brother's off in college. I'm in a family of women. So I had to assume the she-man role. And I don't mean in a sexual way. I mean literally, I was the breadwinner. I was the mother. I was my child's father and her playmate. I was the breadwinner. And I was the one who secured the house at night. I had nobody to run to. It was me and a 2-year-old. So the presumption is that I can handle it because I can. But I don't want to.
Right.
It's a role that I was given. I will take it and assume it because I watched these brilliant and very strong women before me. My mother, her mother before her mother before her, and so on and so forth. It was passed down to us to assume that there would not be a man among us. So we're not covered or protected because it's presumed that we're some supernatural beings, which we are.
Right.
But without a man and the balance, it creates a terrible offset of balance. And I became a man. I gained the weight to be a man and to appear to people like I'm unstoppable and invincible. In the whole while, I'm a 4'10" 3/4" woman that's scared as hell. But I got a 2-year-old that's depending on me to protect her, to provide for her, and still living in the presumption of family members and others that I'm a bitch, that I'm mean, that I can't get along with men because I have a male complex. Well, of course I do. I've assumed his role. So there has been nobody to protect me. So we get that banner and we carry the banner.
So how do we change that?
Conversations with men.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about what we're lacking together.
Yeah.
I'm really, to be honest, sick of the narrative that Black women are bitches. We can't be helped. We won't participate. We won't be together. All we are is chaos.
Right.
And the lower vibrations. And then we, on the other hand, speak about the men. He ain't shit. He gonna leave me with this kid. He ain't gonna take care of his responsibilities. He's a hoe. Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So we continue to perpetuate these thoughts and images of one another, and thoughts become words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Words become things. And the more we say these things, and this is just my opinion, the more we say these things, words are spells, they give life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we continue to perpetuate the crime that was perpetuated on us. So who can I run to? Me and the Creator, me and sisters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Until a man approaches you, and I mean not a dude, until a man approaches you and assumes the role of a man. And then in most cases, women, like, I can speak for me, I was a supreme bitch. There was a picture of me in the encyclopedia. Smile, bitch, smile. I ain't got time to smile. I got all this stuff to do.
Exactly.
But to have a conversation in honesty and to hear a man speak about us in a positive light. I'm really sick of hearing about black women bitches. They ain't shit.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Even the ones who have women that are not that continue to perpetuate that conversation. And I'll finish on this. I'm aware that there are a lot of those out there. There's a lot, but it's also over exaggerated. I don't know a lot of women like that. And maybe it's because that's my crowd.
Yeah.
But it's offensive to me to hear brothers constantly speaking on how low we are. And I'm not a we. I'm
Exactly.
foster. I don't even exist in that world.
Mhm.
But it does something to my spirit when I can't hear. I'm in a relationship with someone and they only speak about the downside of black women
Yeah.
and our problems as black women. But you were raised by a black woman.
Mhm.
Your sisters are black women.
Mhm.
Everything surrounding you that reared you is of a black woman. So you hate your mother? Is that what we're really saying? And if that's the case, you hate your mother, then you hate the mother of your children. I'm still a mother. But black women in this country, we're not perceived as mother. We mama. And there's a difference.
Mhm.
So I'm going to shut my mouth on that, but that's how I feel about the situation. Back to you, Bob.
Well, I can say I grew up in a two-parent home. My mother and father had two daughters. So, and I'm a daddy's girl, so I always talked to my father. And my father basically told me, he said, you need to make sure you get your education, you get a career, you get your own. He said, because a lot of these men these days ain't worth a damn at all. He said, they don't make them like they used to.
Mm.
So I took on that strong personality.
Yeah.
I made sure I focused. I went to school, I got my career, I got my house, got 3 cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I'm straight.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then you go through these relationships with sorry men,
Boys.
and then you try to give people a chance. But then after a while, they say something stupid, and you're like, okay. And I was the kind of person, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me.
There you go.
So soon as you do something stupid, you gone.
Immediately.
Immediately. But then after a while, you get tired of having to be the boss of everything, do everything, take care of this, take care of that. And I was a single mother as well, but luckily I had my parents to help. But still, in my personal relationships, it was crazy. It's like I had to take on the lead role. But you get tired of that after a while. And it's like, I have all of this, he said, but I still want someone to share it with.
Right.
But you had to come correct.
That's right.
Because I'm already on defense.
Protected.
I'm protected.
We have one of our male panelists state that women's liberation, was the worst thing that happened to the black women.
Agreed.
You do agree?
150,000%.
Explain.
Black women and black men did not have a problem prior to 1965. Not at all.
That's true.
Big Mama and Big Daddy was together, and whatever his infractions were and hers were, we were a family. We are a unit. We will work through this together. And these babies are going to eat. And if we don't like each other today, Matt, you sleep in the living room or in the second room, and I'm in here. But when it was time to handle business, we came together. Women's lib was a white woman's
That
issue.
wasn't our fight.
The difference between the white men not being able to control these white women because you put us in the workplace. And a lot of women hate me for saying this, but I think one of the worst things that happened to black women, and white women for that matter, was being put in a position to go into the workforce. It made us too accessible to men. And a lot of us were lonely and desperate and naive. And not to say that men were the total guilty parties, but if a man of a mature age is in the presence of a young girl that is somewhat naive and beautiful and willing to do whatever he wants her to do in order to get her job or to move up, there's the setup.
They're going to use
Oh,
it.
yeah.
And
to
we
their
walk,
advantage.
we didn't have, and that's just to us, like it or not, we are emotional. And if we are lacking something and a man offers it to us, we take it. And if you are lonely,
Just black.
that's all women. But I mean,
Yeah.
speaking specifically to black women, we don't usually acquiesce. But going into the workforce took us first and most importantly out of the house. That left the children unattended, unraised. I don't like the fact that I was a latchkey kid. We're the first generation of latchkey.
Yeah.
We're where it started to fall apart because that television raised us and integration raised and corrupted us. And then the fathers left the home and that corrupted us. And now we're sitting here in a mess trying to rebuild out of all of this disaster. Oh, women's lib. I think that was the greatest travesty played among us. I hate to say it, but I feel like somebody's got to be responsible for the lives we create. Those children did not ask to get here. And if we're going to make babies and then leave the home, leave this vulnerable child into the care of whomever, what is that to say? We're here in this messed up state because there was no foundation. There was no, without my grandmother in Salem, Virginia, little country town, I feel where I would have wound up. Because my mother, when my father left, she was working. My brother was an athlete. He wasn't in the home a lot. That's when I started to get wild. Shit started happening.
I guess what just keeps playing in my mind, I agree with most everything everyone said, but how do we move forward? Because I do think that how we're seen by not even just outside of our culture, but even how we're seen by Black men,
That part.
it's not good. I think we have to come to a place where we can almost agree to disagree, because we can't always expect that men are going to understand our plight, but we still need them, and we have to do that for them. I think we still have to be sympathetic, right? We may they're not going to be able to feel how it feels to be a Black woman, and we're not going to understand how it feels to be a Black man. But I think we're just not at a place where we appreciate and understand that there is a struggle, a war going on outside, right? And to something that you said earlier, back in the day when things happened, we still came together. We could have been fighting, struggling, whatever, but no one else knew it.
Nobody.
And I think we got to get back more to that, where we're seen as a team. We're opposition. It's like Black men versus Black women, and that's not what it should be. Yeah, if we want to move forward, if we want to stay in the same place, we can do that. But if we want to move forward, we got to come together. We got to agree to disagree and fight behind closed doors and in the street. I mean, when we're out, it needs to be a united front.
Have conversations.
But can we stop exploiting the weaknesses?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
We the only race that do that.
We're the only men call us bitches, and we cool with it. We call ourselves
Even
bitches.
good to each other.
And it's cool
Online,
everywhere.
out in public.
I mean,
don't
or
care.
being judged on the premonition or the pretense of what you were, coming out of a bitch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We never get permission to not be that bitch. And in most cases, you have to assert, don't put me where I used to be. You put me, you keep saying, you know how you are. You a bitch. You know you've been a bitch. Yeah, you a bad bitch. Yeah, you right. Then we acquiesce, and then we go back and do the same thing. Seriously. And you're a boss bitch. First of all, I'm a businesswoman. Second of all, I'm a queen. Do not dare address me like a dog. Talking to.
Exactly.
I don't accept that we are this damaged and hateful women, and we don't deserve to be loved and even softened. I've learned to be soft. The beauty of femininity is amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in our culture, meaning our Black culture, that's perceived as a weakness.
Yeah.
So most of us try to, nah, girl, you in love, girl. Nah, he just a little something I'm doing. We sound like men. Exactly. He's just a little something.
I'm doing.
All of what the Black
woman experience, how does it impact a Black woman's mental health?
It broke me.
Wow.
Hands down.
Yeah.
I don't mean it shattered. I mean, I went to a place, all I knew was fight, defend, fight, fight. Whatever really, you think I can't do this? Watch me do it times 3. Oh, you think I'm ugly? Watch me blow your mind and take your man. Oh, what, you think I can't do this? Every challenge presented for me became a trophy. Oh, really? And then all the while, insecurity is being covered. So mentally, I was a she-man. Bigger, better, faster, stronger than anything you could imagine. I puffed myself up physically with body mass and mentally and emotionally with this supersonic character. It was my Kevlar. No, you can't touch me. Love, nigga, I don't love you. I don't love me. How am I going to love you? I love my daughter. I love my grandmother. I love my little brother. The rest of y'all niggas can go kick rocks. I ain't got time for none of this. And when I say this to you, this was a broken woman. Broken. Because I couldn't see the value in me because all I heard was, Nikki, you're a bitch. You can't, you won't, you will. Look, you know how you are. Never, oh, look, you grew, you changed, you became.
Right, exactly.
No, this is who you are. So you begin to say, okay, this is how they see me. Then I must be this. But then I'm looking at a 2-year-old girl, looking at her mother, and I'm trying to not let her see this, but she is my sponge and my mirror. And now I'm looking at a 32-year-old Nikki and a 35-year-old daughter. And that breaks my heart. That crushes me. That is something I pray every day, every night. Lord, soften her. Take that which she learned watching.
Right.
Yeah.
Not what I told her, don't. The whole time she's watching. But you did. And you failed. So I'm going to do the opposite. Not as I do. And it's a one Black woman, that is the mental break from me. And to think that my daughter, I'm looking at myself at my worst in a living 35-year-old, and I don't know how to help her. So for me, the prayer is, stop all this bullshit.
Yeah.
Black men got issues, we got issues.
Yeah.
But the us
It's
is the issue. We can't win as individuals. White people did that. White people took us from home, right? So we came here as individuals and we built families. You're not my blood, but you would be my sister if we were on the same plantation, and that's all I had. So blood don't make you family. Relation. This makes us family.
Right.
So I'm saying to rebuild a family out of splinters. To me, for us to rebuild, it is literally to accept that we are all broken and that the system that built us as a Black culture in this diaspora is not the way to go.
Yeah.
We've got to create the we now. This is not going to work for us. We're not white people. We don't have the same connections. But we have found a way to stay distant in the same room.
But Nikki, I mean, let media, social media tell it. Black women, we're all toxic and toxic and vile. And, we are the base of society.
We are the scum of the earth.
We're always in competition with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the lowest vibration. But we, in all honesty, and being a musician and formerly in the music industry, we allowed them to exploit our lower passions, and it made money. And then they told us to be in love with money because that's all you got, nigga. You ain't got nothing else. All you can do is sing, Nikki. What the fuck else you gonna do? Either you're gonna be rich or you're gonna die doing it. So I said, well, luckily I didn't acquiesce to use your body to become a star. But look at the people casting. All these people we're looking at with Puff Combs. We agreed.
Allegedly.
Okay. But I'm saying we agreed to be seen this way. Right. But we absolutely agreed to this lifestyle because we continue to perpetuate it. We do it for money. We're whores for money. And I don't mean necessarily sexual whores. I mean, we whore our bodies and our lives for coins.
And our minds.
And minds first and foremost. And I take it back to looking at, I have to use my 35-year-old daughter, the world that she sees. And the guilt I bear for being a single mother that was mentally wounded and hurt, violated as a young girl, and then express and then expected to stand above it anyway and to succeed anyway, damaged and wounded, and then your family stabbing you, keeping you down, bringing you down with the same words that you hear out in the street.
Yeah.
Black women we are perceived to be mammy, and that's the strength that is unbreakable, and we are, obviously, but there's a piece of us that has been so abused and neglected, and that is that feminine energy.
Yeah.
That power of a dress and all that.
So that brings us to the next topic, the next thing, which talks about the stereotypes in men, Black women.
Yeah.
And so stereotypes about Black women are centuries old. The thing that I think about is, name of my mind, the African woman with the big bottom.
Sarah
Clark, that unfortunately has plagued Black women since the beginning of time, which were over-sexualized. Not as adults, but from the ages of 5, not early. So let me get Jamela your thoughts on how do we as Black women regain control of our sexuality, and then become the gatekeepers of how society sees our sexuality.
Oh Lord, well.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, get it, girl. Well, like you said, we've always been thought of as very not as human.
Exactly.
First of all, and they used to do experiments on us, medical experiments on us, without using even anesthesia. Right. So we're in this mindset where society's in a mindset where Black women are strong. They don't need assistance. They don't need help. They don't need pity because they can carry the weight of the world.
Yeah.
But who wants to?
Nobody.
You get tired after that. You get tired.
Yeah.
You get tired. We get tired too, just like every other woman does. We get tired.
But I think I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think with other races, they're seen. And I feel like for us, we're not seen in the same way. And you also see that with the health disparities in healthcare, how...
I'm going to get to that point.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to jump ahead.
I want to ask you, I want y'all to be honest with me at this point. And if it's too personal, just say Pat, okay? Where was the first time you were seen as a sexual object?
14 years old.
Yeah, it was young, yeah.
Young. Fifth grade.
Ooh, not that, yeah. But teen, yeah, yeah.
I developed fast.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
I was like that, in fifth grade.
And how does that make you feel? You don't mind me asking?
The little boys used to kind of bother me, and I wasn't into boys then. I was young, but like I had a instance where like two little boys try to corner me and try to fill me up, and so that kind of gave me some kind of subconscious about myself.
Right.
I didn't want to
Look like a girl.
So I hung around with boys a lot growing up. And even then, when I started developing and stuff, I couldn't play with them, because I started looking like a girl to them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting that it's making me think about growing up, and as your body starts
to change.
Yep. I just remember my mom saying, "Oh, you can't wear that anymore."
That part. Don't wear that no more.
Why not? But you're only 9, 10 years old. Yeah, you're not, but you don't understand the why, And I think this also goes back to the conversations we have with our children. We communicate things. I think we're a little more open with children. Information is more accessible to children. They can get it on their own too. But I think our parents, you don't need to wear that. And that's it.
That's all.
No explanation.
Mm-mm.
And so,
So you're thinking that it's something that you did or something's wrong with your
Right.
body.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's just something that is happening, and it's probably not happening to other kids in your class because their bodies are differently made, and that's fine. But so it also is beautiful the way your body is made. But nobody really, I don't think, reinforces that for us. And I think sometimes even, and it's not I don't think it's intentional, but I think sometimes even our parents didn't, our mothers didn't in that day and age,
Right.
I think now we're more conscious of it, but I think, so I think what we have to do is, I think as the next generation with us as, whatever, bucket we want to put ourselves in, I think as the elders and as we start to that, I think we have to start giving more wisdom back to the younger generation, but they got to be open to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes they're not open to listen, or they're like, oh, you're the aunties, you're this, you're that. But it's also wisdom in that, and I think sometimes we don't back because we just see them as, out there, ratchet, this, that, but we don't take the time to kind of give back and pour back into them so they don't have to go through and experience things that, that we did.
And a lot of times, I know in the Black community, I teach second grade, and the Black women, like, to me, they over sexualize these little girls.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This little Miss Shirley,
the little girl.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's I can't even say it's cute because it's like you are having this young person, this child. She's a baby. And you have her in this adult space. And I'm not saying that you're taking her to clubs or anything like that. I'm just saying that, what happens if it was on the bus,
Right.
They go round and round.
Exactly. Let them go round and round. She's going to have a lot.
She passed that.
Exactly.
And she breaks it down.
The ground.
Yeah.
Right.
But she's going to have a lifetime to put her boots on the ground. Let her be in a child's place at this point in her life.
Yeah.
Let her, develop in a space that's appropriate for her. And just, I've seen on
Everywhere.
That little red outfit, little red body suit. I'm like,
what is she wearing?
it's like, okay. Again, is this where it goes back to that exploitation, even though it's not. I don't think in no shape, form, fashion am I trying to imply that her parents are putting her in trying to exploit her, but I think that what's cute and sassy for her age is setting her up for future failures because again, her mind isn't where she's supposed to be. We don't know who she's coming in contact with. We're hoping that the parents are covering her at every step with, and she's a little cutie pie. I wish her well, but I wish that the people that were in charge of her life would say, you know what, it was 2 minutes, it's gone, let her back, and let's do some wheels on the bus.
There was another video with her and the grandma and her father and the mother. And the dad was trying to tell her, the grandma was up there showing her how to pop a butt, do the little dance or whatever. And the dad was like, she is 2 years old. She don't need to be doing that. There are perverts out there looking at her, and you got her on the internet, on TV, doing this little dance where she's little popping her butt. And the grandma like, it's just a dance, and didn't think about what the father had to say. And she said, there's nothing wrong with her dancing like that, but like he said, she's 2, 3 years old. Why is she up there popping her butt?
Yeah.
And they don't even listen. The grandma was like, come on, baby, let's show dad how to pop your butt. And they disregarded what he said. I'm like, well, see, the one thing, they don't listen.
Yeah.
But we don't demand that they listen. We want them to be quiet and not seen or heard.
I mean, but granted, the way that grandma got us to listen, it probably ain't legal in about 49 minutes.
You got a point. You got a point.
Yeah.
So let's segue to Carla because you did open the door to talk about health in Black women. I can tell you I've had some of the most eye-opening experiences of Black women trying to get good health care.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned is how that as Black women, we have to fiercely advocate for ourselves
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah.
our health care.
Yep.
So
Yep.
what has been your experiences with
Yeah.
trying to seek health care, good health care for
Yeah.
Black women?
I'll say that it's eye-opening for me when I seek out healthcare in a provider, a doctor. I used to not look at race. I used to just look at, maybe their credentials, their experience. But I've recently, not real recently, but start to see that there's a difference in how our doctors see us versus non-Black doctors. Just the questions that they ask us,
Right.
how they listen to us,
Or don't.
yeah, or don't. Even for when my son was born, one of the things I knew right off that I wanted him to have a Black doctor. Whether that was female, male, but I knew I wanted him to be a person of color for him. Because I think that's important, how you're seen and how they listen to us. I think in healthcare, the reason for a lot of the health disparities, I think, is because of not having representation in the hospitals, in the healthcare system. I think is also leading to that. I do think, we're hearing more about it in the media. We're hearing more about it, more people speaking out about their experiences. Unfortunately, people have, had to, have bad experiences, lose their lives because of it. But I think we got to keep speaking out about it and being advocates for our healthcare. Like educate ourselves. Educate yourself before you go to the doctor about your symptoms. I hate to say it, but Dr. Google, get on, look at, research things, ask the doctor questions. Don't just, I think we've come from a space in the past where we just listen to what the doctors say, but it's your life, it's your health care. Don't just always accept the medication first. Say, hey, and I've done that personally myself. Like, hey, let's try this first, But I find that a lot of times when you're going to doctors that are not Black doctors, they're less prone to listen to you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, I've had a Black doctor that I was just like, how did you even make it?
Yeah.
And and actually I had an issue, and I went to see a Black doctor, female, and I was very put off about how her bedside manner, how she spoke to me, and it was like, look, I understand what's going on, but I need to know what the next step is. And she did not have the time nor the patience to have that conversation with me. She was like, hey, do this, do that, and no, let's talk about this. What's the alternative? And so it wasn't until I did at that particular time I actually had a doctor. I used to call him Dr. WebMD, because I would go to the office and he would pull WebMD right up, right there in front of me. So I was just like, I make my appointment and just come in with my paperwork, here you go. So
look it up for him.
But I think that I would bring him information that he wasn't aware of, because what we feel to get here, they're doctors, but they're only the last thing up. So if you ain't been to a medical convention in 20 years, guess what? They're not gonna be update.
And they're going by, a lot of times their computers tell them this is the next thing, this is what you do, this is the medicine, this is the treatment plan, so they're not really thinking outside of the box. Right. They're going through the solutions, the fact sheet that they have. But I would agree with what you're saying, because sometimes, I don't think that's the solution. I don't want to feel like that's the solution to only go to Black doctors, because I do think that sometimes you can, they're people. So
Right.
I don't want to judge my healthcare based on the color of someone's skin. I don't think that, but I do see I have seen the difference in how they just at least listen and hear. Like even most recently, something that I've been experiencing, just going to multiple doctors, and I went to, and it actually was was a nurse practitioner. I find it sometimes to shout out to all the nurse practitioners.
Right.
I think they actually take more time with
They
you.
do.
Right.
Yeah, than than.
I had a doctor from a Middle Eastern country, and I'm putting that out there. I don't know why, but she said to me that us American women, not just black women, American women, we're too soft. Suck it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But has anybody been able to find a black woman doctor?
Yes.
I
Yes.
cannot find one. I
Doctor.
started going to one, and then
And
she
never-
left the practice, and then
Yeah.
she referred me to another black female doctor. And before I made my first appointment with her, she left the practice, left the where she was working. I was like, what is going on? So I can't find a black female doctor.
I had an exceptional one, and then she didn't take my insurance anymore. And if I could have money out of my pocket to pay for Leslie Brown, Prime Care,
I think
she took such good of me and care of me and William and my child. Oh my God, she went over and above in questioning in medications or alternatives to medication.
Right.
She listened to me and she understood and empathized because she's one of us.
Yeah,
And then most doctors don't give you some pills and stuff. I'm the kind of person I don't like to take pills.
Right.
I like to find a natural alternative to everything
Yeah,
before I take a pill.
before you. Yeah.
But they get paid to give you pills. So
we covered a lot of stuff. Just a couple more minutes, but let's see if we can. I think we talked about the growing disconnect between black men and black women. Is it getting wider? Is it getting closer? And
I think it's getting wider.
I do too.
so how do we bridge that gap or stop? The icebergs from moving apart as fast as they are.
Well, I think the work that we're doing with the Sencerely Yourz podcast, I think the conversations that we're starting to have can kind of start to break down some of that. I think it also starts with our young people. I think it starts with how we're giving back and what we're feeding back into them, because it starts with them. Right? Because a lot of times, I hate to say it, as you get older, you get kind of stuck in your ways, and the likelihood of you changing. But what we don't want to do, we don't want to keep perpetuating that cycle.
Right.
So I think our greatest investment is probably into our younger generation and how we're feeding into them. And I think, something that I think was said earlier by someone on the panel, about how your parents, said, hey, or your dad said, go to school, get an education, like be able to take care of yourself and be self-sufficient. But in other communities, that's not how they raise and kid. I'm not thinking, I'm just, and that's how we tell especially our girls, take care of yourself. Don't depend on anyone.
Don't depend on.
But that's actually the opposite of what other cultures, they actually go to college not to get a degree. The degree is just an extra, because I'm not going to need a degree because I'm going to get the husband. I'm going to get a husband.
a doctor, a lawyer,
Or professional athlete.
I probably won't even work. I'm just there to see to land my husband.
I'm on the market.
Yep. And I'm not in the. I can't say I totally, I don't have a daughter, but if I did, I can't say I would wholeheartedly just tell her to do that. Obviously, But I think a little balance of that is what's needed, because I think what we're doing is we're actually breeding what we're saying we don't want, that hardness, that lack of femininity, by doing that. But I also understand why we don't want to be, you don't want to.
Hey, you go to college, but you don't look out for that soul.
I'm telling her to stay away from her. I'm telling her to run away. I know. But she's going to be out to get you. Exactly. That's exactly what I know. Exactly. Put it out there. I don't have daughters, so. But yeah, from a mother's perspective, as a mother of a
And all the
son.
girls out there, what?
That part.
Well, I can tell you, coming from what we would consider a bitch,
Come
you
on,
know,
girl.
and a very independent woman, when you find somebody that can take on that role as a man, and you're able to leash out your femininity,
Yeah.
on your feminine side, it's just like a breath of fresh air.
Absolutely.
Because you get tired of taking care of
God.
everything, paying all the bills, doing this, making sure this
You
and that.
know, yeah.
But when you find somebody that can step in and take on that male role, and you can be a lady,
Girl.
Yeah.
it's
You
just
sleep better at night.
you sleep better at night. You do.
Right.
But I would like to say that just one for me, it would be for us to see each other as individuals
Yeah.
Right.
instead of us grouping men are dogs, women are bitches.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at me and you see this.
Yeah.
Right.
This is who I am and you are. And in this moment, all that past stuff is what it is. Let's find a common ground to maybe help each other grow out of those stereotypes.
Yeah.
But I think we need to be honest and transparent as man and woman and come together and see. I see you.
Yeah.
I don't see all that. I see you.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, it has been a pleasure having this conversation.
Yeah.
We kind of
Yes.
ran the gamut. We talked
Yeah.
about a lot of
Good.
We did a lot.
ways that, people in our community can, find little nuggets and make their world a better place. So on the other side of the coin, the ladies of Sincerely Yours podcast, thank you for listening.
All right. Woo woo.